Good evening, everyone. This week's Parsha is Parshas Vayeshev Tafshin Pei Gimel. I want to start with a Gemara in Brachas. The Gemara in Brachas that we're about to study has in it a very important and well-known principle, but it comes along with the following story. So there was a great king of the Jewish people. His name was Chizkiyahu, and the prophet at the time of Chizkiyahu was the prophet Yeshayahu, the prophet Isaiah. And Chizkiyahu became very ill, and Yeshaya Hanavi, the prophet Yeshaya, went to visit him. And this is based on a pasuk. Bayamim hahem, in those days, Chala Chizkiyahu lamus. Chizkiyahu became deathly ill. Vayavoy elav Yeshayahu ben Amitz Hanavi. Yeshayahu, the son of Amitz, the prophet, came to him. Vayomer elav, and the prophet said to the king, Kayamar Hashem Tzavokos. So says Hashem, Lord of all hosts. Tzav leveischa kimei sata v'lo sichya. Command your family, your household, give them your final requests, because you're going to die and not live. Now, the first thing the Gemara asks is, that seems redundant, because you're going to die and not live. Just say you're going to die. What does it mean you're going to die and not live? So on that, the Gemara explains that what the prophet Yeshayahu was saying to Chizkiyahu was, Kimei sata, you're going to die by lamazet. In this world, you're going to lose your life. You're going to die. You're going to live in the world to come. You're being punished, not even to have the afterlife. Amalei, so Chizkiyahu said to him, Michael Ahai, what's this all about? He had no idea what did he do so wrong that he's being punished this way. Amalei, so Yeshayahu said to him, because you haven't had children. Meaning you are intentionally not having children. There's a mitzvah, priya pruarvu, to multiply, be fruitful. Amalei, he said to him, you know why? You know what? I'm not having children? Because I know through the spirit of holiness, that which let's call it a certain measure of prophecy that allowed him to see that children that are not righteous will come from me. He knew through the power that's called Ruach HaKodesh, the spirit of holiness, which allows a person to see beyond the limits of what a regular person can see, that he saw that his children would be evil, would be wicked. And at the end of the day, when he did have children, his son was an extremely wicked king. And he already knew this was going to happen if he has children. So therefore he said to the prophet, that's why I'm not having children. Sounds like a good reason, no? Amalei, so he said to him, the prophet said back to the king, why are you getting involved in the secrets of Hashem? Hashem has his plans. That's not your business. You have a mitzvah to do, you do the mitzvah. What Hashem has in store for your actions, that's Hashem's secrets. We would say that's Hashem's business, and that's not something for you to get involved in. You have a mitzvah, you do the mitzvah. What comes out of that, Hashem knows, and you know the secrets of what's going to come out of it. You know Hashem's hidden plans. Well, you may know it, but that's not an excuse not to do the mitzvah. That was what he was doing wrong. That's what the prophet said. That's your sin. What you're commanded to do, that's what you have to do. And what Hashem wants to do after that, you let him do it. Amalei, so the prophet Chizkiah said to Yeshaya, Hashtav li bratach. Okay, now let me marry your daughter. Ebsher the garmas chusidididach. Perhaps my merit and your merit will be able to. I believe this means they'll be able to change things. Maybe my merit and your merit will help. V'nafkaminoy, but in the mali, and the children will come out of you will be righteous. Between your merits and my merits, maybe things will change. Yeshayahu said, too late. The decree has been put upon you that you're going to die. That was his response. Meaning Yeshayahu says, well, if that's my sin, okay, so I'll get married, I'll have children, and you'll help me, let me marry your daughter, and between the merits of both of us, maybe may bring about that the children will be righteous. And Yeshayahu says to him, sorry, too late. You can't do anything about it. Or Malay. So then Chizkiyahu said, Ben Amoitz, Kale Nivuas Chavetzei, finish your prophecy and go. Kach Mekublar Beis Avi Abba. I have a tradition from my grandfather, from the house of my father's father. Afilu Cherevcha Munachas Al Tzabore Shaladam. Even if a sharp sword is resting on a person's neck, that means that things don't look too good. Things look like they're about to end. It doesn't seem for things going to turn around. Al Yimana Atzm Min Arachamim. A person should not hold himself back from mercy. Meaning he should not hold himself back. He should not give up on God's mercy. Even if things seem to be definitive, even though that sword is on your neck and it looks like there's no way out of this, don't give up hope. So that's why. And then the Torah says, then it says, what did Chizkiyahu do after that? He turned his face to the wall and he prayed, and he got better, and he got married, and he had children, and he had a son who became an extremely wicked king, Menashe. Now, but this is the point of the story that the Gemara brings the story is to bring out this point that no matter how the situation may look, a person should not hold himself back from mercy. That's the wording. The person should not hold himself back from mercy. What does it mean? Don't hold yourself back from mercy. Don't say that that Hashem won't have mercy on you. Don't say it looks like it's all over, it's all done, and there's just nothing to turn things around. No, don't hold yourself back from mercy. Meaning, don't give up on the possibility that even at this point, Hashem could have mercy on you. That's the point of the Gemara. So I want to share with you a very interesting interpretation. It's really what we call homiletic, because it's taking this phrase that we just said and giving it a little bit, it's not the meaning that the Gemara uses it in, and we'll call it a bit homiletic, but it's a very interesting idea. Again, the wording is afilu cherev chad menachas al tzavare shaladam. Even if a sharp sword is resting on a person's neck, al yimana atzm min arachamim, which we translate as literal translation goes, a person should hold himself back from mercy. In the Gemara's context, that means don't give up on mercy. But a Hamalelka interpretation would be that even if there's a sword resting on your neck, don't hold yourself back from mercy means don't hold yourself back from being merciful to others. Even if you seem to be in so much trouble, don't hold yourself back from mercy for others. It shouldn't become a time that when you're in a very dangerous and precarious situation, in a very difficult situation, don't because of that hold yourself back from being merciful to others. Even when things are so bad, don't hold yourself back from being merciful to others. Make sure that no matter what situation you're in, if you can help others, help others. When a person gets into a really bad situation, they're so focused on themselves, they don't have any space. They don't have any space. They don't have any space to be able to be merciful on others. And the lesson here is, again, that's not what the Gemara meant to say, but again, taking the words and like again, Hamalelka interpretation, the idea is that even when you're in a bad shape, still don't hold yourself back from mercy. Be merciful to other people. Don't the fact that you're having so many problems, which may actually necessitate that you have to be focused on yourself more than usual, but that shouldn't become a cause for not being merciful upon other people. Why? Because if you're merciful, if you stop being merciful, if you stop caring about others, and you may have a good reason for it, but you stop being merciful to others, then you lose what we call your menschlichkeit. You lose your humanity. You become so caught up in yourself that you're just so focused on yourself. That's not what a human being is supposed to be. So although there's good reason for why you're so focused on yourself, but if you become so focused that you can't think about others, then you've lost your menschlichkeit. You've lost your humanity. And therefore, no matter what the situation may be, still be merciful on others. Now, we can say that we see this in this week's Parsha. Because in this week's Parsha, Perek Mem, chapter 40, Pasuk Vav, at this point in the Parsha, Yosef is in jail. And while he's in jail, he's put in charge of all the prisoners. That's his job. He's in charge of taking care of all the prisoners. And at a certain point of time, Paro jails his Sar Hamashkim, his wine butler, and his Sar Ha'ifim, and his baker. They both messed up on something, and he threw them into jail. And while they're in jail, the Torah tells us that each man had a dream. And after the next morning, what happened? This is Pasuk Vav, verse 6. Yosef came to them in the morning. He was making his rounds. He saw them, and he saw that they were very upset. They were very aggrieved. And so he asked these servants of Paro that were with him in the jail in the house of his master, saying, why do you look so bad today? And they told him, we have a dream, we have no interpretation. And Yosef says, God interprets all dreams. Let me know what happened. Let me know what you dreamed about. Now, let's take a look at the situation. Yosef is in charge of the prisoners. What does that mean exactly? I don't know what it means. But for some reason, it seems to me, it doesn't mean that he's supposed to be the social worker for everybody. That if you see people thrown into a dungeon and they look sad, so is it really Yosef, who himself was a prisoner? Is it his job to say, why do you look so down today? Why are you in such a bad mood? These are prisoners. They're not meant to be in a good mood. They're not meant to be in good shape. So Yosef has a job to go and check on them, whatever he has to do to take care of the prisoners. But to be so concerned, to be so much into them that if they look like they're really sad, then now he asks them why you look so sad. Is that really part of Yosef's job? Again, in the dungeon where basically, there's no hope for you to get out. That's a good reason to look sad. So why today he looks extra sad? It's pretty simple why he looks extra sad. And is it really Yosef's job to care about this kind of a thing? And therefore, it's very possible that what we're seeing here in Yosef is what we just said. That although Yosef, wherever he lands up, as we see in the Parsha, Hashem is there to help him, and he fares better probably than other people do. But nonetheless, here he is. He's in jail. He's stuck in jail, and he's stuck there for 10 years. And he sees these people. They look down. They look upset. And he wants to help them. Would we expect someone in Yosef's situation, in his downtrodden situation, to be focused and trying to help somebody else? But that's what Yosef is teaching us. That no matter what situation you find yourself in, no matter how bad things may be for you, no matter how much you're suffering, don't give up. Don't stop being merciful to others. Make sure that you don't get so caught up in yourself that you lose your focus and your care for others. That's so important for who you are as a person. And that's what Yosef was teaching us. That Yosef was not merely this. We can make a good argument. That's not what Yosef's job here was, not to worry about their mood, because no one's expecting them to be in a very good mood. And if they look very downtrodden, there's a good reason for it. No one's expecting Yosef to be their social worker. But Yosef cares. That's why he's asking them. And no matter where he is and what state of being he's in, nonetheless, he's still caring about other people. That's part of who Yosef is. That's the lesson Yosef is teaching us. I want to share with you a very interesting medrash. There's a medrash that says that when the Jewish people were realized that they were to become enslaved, so there's a medrash that says, when the Jewish people were in Egypt, Niskabsu kulam v'yeshvu yachad. They all gathered together. Shemasher kulam b'guda achas, for they're all united. The Karasu bris yachad, and they made a treaty with each other, an agreement. Sheyasu milas chasodim zeh imzeh. That they would do kindness with each other. The Yishbu b'lavavam bris Avram Yitzchak v'Yaakov, and they would guard in their hearts the covenant of Avram Yitzchak and Yaakov. L'avedes havim sh'bashmaim l'badoi, to serve Hashem alone. V'shelo yanichu loshem beis Yaakov avien, and they would not abandon the language of the house of their forefather Yaakov. V'shelo yilmu loshem Mitzrayim, they will not learn to speak Egyptian. So this where there's a well-known idea that the Jewish people in Egypt, they didn't change their tongue, their language, and their mode of dress. They retained their Jewish identity. That's well known. But here, the Medrash adds something else. The first thing the Medrash says is what did they make up? They made up that they will be kind with each other. Why did they have to make up to be kind with each other? And the answer is because knowing that they would become slaves, that would not really be the state of being kind with each other. Slaves are too busy working and doing what their master wants, and being too concerned that if they don't do what the master wants, they're going to be in trouble. Nonetheless, they understood that they need to make sure that in this situation that they will still do kindness with each other. And the explanation of that can be what we're saying, that even when a person is in a situation that seems to demand only focusing on yourself, it's not the kind of situation to start doing kindness and caring about others. You still have to retain that. You still have to retain your menschlichkeit. You still have to retain your humanity and make sure that you're still caring and concerned about others. I read recently an interesting story about a rabbi in Israel, and the story goes that this rabbi, his name is Rabbi Shlomo Elituv. And the story written by actually a friend of mine, his name is Spinul Perry, wrote an article about this rabbi. And he said that this rabbi was a rabbi in England for many years. And he retired and he came back to Israel in March of 2020. March of 2020. What was going on? What happened in March of 2020? Coronavirus. The beginning of the coronavirus. And he came back to Israel. And he started getting sick to the point that he wasn't able to breathe. So he was rushed to the hospital. And when he got to the hospital, he was from the first victims of the coronavirus. He was from the first people to get sick with coronavirus, which was the time of the deadliest wave of the virus. A CAT scan revealed clotting in his lungs, and the doctors administered blood thinners. He was placed in a 4-person room, feeble and immobile. A transparent reservoir face mask directing a high oxygen flow to his desperate lungs. Within 24 hours, Rabbi Elituv's oxygen levels had improved, and a nasal cannula replaced the mask. After 3 days, he was strong enough to use his cell phone, and after 3 more, he could leave his bed. So he was recovering, very weak, but recovering. One morning, a nurse's voice jarred him awake. "Mr. Klein, you must drink," she urged another patient in the room. "Take some water, please." No, the man rasped, moving his head from side to side to evade the cup and straw in her hand. This Mr. Klein, again, one of the roommates of Rabbi Elituv, had given up living. He was fighting anything that people wanted to give him. Whatever the nurses were giving, he refused all food, hydration, blood work. And he knew he had given up. He knew his end was near, and he was just going to let it happen. And therefore, whatever they tried doing to him, he refused. When Rabbi Elituv woke up and heard this, he said to the nurse softly, "Excuse me, I'll take care of Mr. Klein." And she looked at him like, "You're going to take care of Mr. Klein?" And he said, "Yes, just give me a longer tube for my oxygen that can reach the bed." And she did. And Rabbi Elituv walked over to Mr. Klein, he crossed the room to speak to him, to become his friend. The author writes, though initially resistant, Mr. Klein welcomed the companionship of this stranger, who hardly seemed willing to die, who even dared laugh despite the pain to his lungs and ribs. When Mr. Klein mentioned offhandedly the desserts and drinks he missed, Rabbi Elitov's daughter Micha was out to the hospital the next day with pastry and juice, and a nurse brought them to the room. The staff quickly understood that I could get, this is again Rabbi Elitov relating, the staff quickly understood that I could give Mr. Klein what they of necessity could not, a touch, an embrace, a measure of human grace, and most importantly, the assurance that he and I together would pull through. Here is a situation of a man, again, he was getting better, but he was very, very ill. He was very sick. And nonetheless, when he saw that someone else was in need, he made sure he went over to him and encouraged him and strengthened him and gave him the will to live. This is an example of what we're talking about. No matter what the situation is, don't hold yourself back from mercy. Always, no matter what state you're in, and it can be excusable why you're not caring about someone. And there may be situations where you're not going to be able to care about someone. But don't stop. Try to stay focused. Try to stay caring to someone else no matter what the situation you're in. Because that's how you retain your menschlichkeit, your humanity, no matter what the situation may be. Have a wonderful Shabbos.
That's a good point.